Talk about this in the news, actually, when we get to the news. And so, because I want to get to our guest, Shauna.
Shauna, before I fall asleep.
Thank you very much for... Let's all take a nap. No, thank you so much for coming on. And we're so happy to have you here. And, I mean, you and I have talked on occasions and whatnot. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. And
well, I am intersex. I was born with a defect. I don't consider it as a defect. I think as God put me here for a reason to express the different types of humans that are in the world. Mm-hmm. Everybody's equal to me. I don't care if you're black, white, purple, big, small.
All right.
We're all the same.
Well, we all have unique qualities.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. I didn't realize I was intersex until I was 11 years old. Mm. And then my mother had told me not to say anything to anybody because back then, in the 60s, what are you going to tell? And I would have been a science project. So
yeah.
It was better for me to go stealth. And I stayed stealth for a good part of 40 years.
Wow.
I tried coming out when I was 18, and I went into the military, the Navy, and I spent a long time in the Navy. It's kind of funny to be intersex, and I was changing. My body's changing. It's always changing.
Right, right.
I'm not on hormones or anything, and my body, I have more estrogen in my body than I ever had testosterone.
Okay.
I had tests done in March of this last year because they were checking for my cancer. Mm-hmm. And my testosterone, the average male is 300 and 700. That's the going rate. I'm 125.
Okay, all right.
And for females, their estrogen is between 25 and 75, and I'm 45.
Okay.
So that's where the doctors all found out that, that I'm a little bit different than everybody else.
Okay.
I don't have, I have a partial uterus and partial male parts, so.
Okay.
But I'm sterile on both sides of the fence, so it's all right. I get to play more. I can practice.
God's own version of birth control. Okay, all right.
I don't have as bad as a when I finally came out. I came out in 2008, and the only ones I had problems with is my parents.
Really?
And my father I can understand because he's old school and whatnot, and he knew about it, but it's better to be quiet.
Okay.
My brothers, my sisters, everybody was cool about it. All my friends, whatnot. My best friend, he's still a little, even now, he's still a little shaky about,
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. He's more homophobe than anything, but I think he's finally getting comfortable. Well, you can imagine. We've been friends for 30 years, and all of a sudden, his best friend is actually a female, and he didn't know about it.
Right, right.
I mean, I portrayed a man really, really good.
Yeah. Well,
I blended. I had to blend.
As a child, you
learn.
You did all the male things, and played soldiers and cowboys and Indians and stuff like that, or whatever.
All the fun things.
Yeah.
And I got all brothers, so
Did you have any problems in school, or
no? Well, in gym I did. That was the only time.
Did you?
Yeah, I went through a menstrual cycle in my sophomore year, and my mom says, "Oh, out of gym you come."
Wow.
It was kind of embarrassing.
That would
kind of ruin my day.
Well, couldn't they put you in the girls' class? No, huh?
No.
Okay.
I didn't look like a girl then.
Oh, okay.
No. I was
Plus,
still
that was
building.
too long ago.
Oh, yeah, that
Quite
was long.
different.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we're talking, what, 70s?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of things were different. I mean, in the last 10 years, everything's changed. There's more kids on the internet now.
Oh, sure.
I wish
There's
we
a
had
lot.
the internet.
Yeah,
It would've-
absolutely. Well, and that's basically why I've got the show, is hopefully get information out to those that, because I constantly think about whether it's youth or whether it's adults in real small rural places that don't have anybody to talk to because they immediately get put down or whatever.
I'm writing a book on it. I mean,
Are you?
Yeah, I have
Cool.
a biography that I'm working on.
Oh, excellent, excellent.
It's called Almost Home.
How far away from?
With my writer blocks, let's see. I'm on like 30 chapters of it, so every time I get into
Wow.
it, you work a little bit on it, and all of a sudden, you just freeze up, and it takes me a little bit of time to get back.
That'd be cool. That'd be interesting.
It really is good. Everybody that's read the manuscript, even my publishers, are pushing for me to get it done with.
We turn it into a movie or a TV
There you
series
go.
too.
Yeah,
All right.
I just joined a membership XXY for all the intersex, people that I was invited, and
Cool.
when I talked to the woman about it, about the membership, she's like, "Well, why should you join?" And I'm like, "Well, Gina from Australia intersex community asked me to come and check you out," and she goes, "Wait a minute, I know who you are."
Cool.
Because she's read my blog and whatnot.
Okay.
So
Excellent.
it was pretty neat.
So is that like a Facebook?
Yeah, it's
thing?
a Facebook
Kinda
group, and it's a private group. It's all XXYs.
Okay.
Door opened up.
Okay. I want to say something too. If you have any questions or comments, feel free. We have a phone. If you want to call and ask questions, you can call in at, what's the number? Does anybody know the number?
The number is 773-862-3560.
Okay. All right, give that out one more time.
773-682-3560.
Okay. Or they can use the little chat.
Chat thing, social chat just to the right of the screen,
Social
but you have to be
chat,
logged
right.
into Ustream
There
to
you
be
go.
able to do it.
Tap it out.
Yeah.
Tap it. Fingers talk faster than the mouth, anyways.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. My fingers don't. Plus, my fingers get even more confused than my mouth does, unfortunately. It's like, left hand doesn't know. You guys are not coordinated. I'm sorry. I hate to tell you. Okay. No fights here. All right. So, what would you tell, or what would you say to youth to... And
Don't be afraid.
I keep wanting to say youths, like in My Cousin Vinny,
Youths.
Yeah. But what would you say to the youth that could be going through the same thing?
Well, I would suggest the youth or the children out there not to hide. Confront your parents, your counselors, somebody at school, and just don't hide. Being stealth is like one of the most miserable things you can ever do for yourself. Whether you think you're safe or whatnot, it plays on you. I mean, it's like a deep, dark place,
Right.
because you got nobody to talk to.
Well, that plus it just deepens the depression.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I tried committing suicide when I was 16.
Did you?
Yeah, I got to the point where I was ready to go to sleep, and then something clicked in me and says, "You know what? All you're doing is hurting everybody else."
Yeah.
And that's one thing I don't like to do is I don't like to hurt anybody. So I got on the phone. I called an ambulance, and they didn't come right away. So I got a cab and I drove to the hospital, and I had them pump my stomach and the whole 9 yards. My father was madder than hell at me.
Did you tell the hospital what you had done?
Yeah.
Did they want to put you into the psych ward?
No, my father came in, he whipped my butt. And then I had to pay for all the doctor fees and all the medical.
Well, at least it didn't hurt because you were on painkillers, right? No, I'm only kidding. But that's a little bit of overreaction, I would think.
Well, nowadays they just automatically show
Stick
you
you right in
the
the psych board for doing it right.
Absolutely.
They made me drink some stuff. It was like charcoal.
Oof.
Yeah.
It's like eating ashes out of an ashtray, I guess.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Maybe that's what it was.
What it does, it absorbs all the pills that were inside your system.
So the moral of this story is don't ever go to the hospital after the cleaning crew has finished cleaning up. 'Cause you don't.
All right.
Anyway.
Yeah, you know, depression is a big thing. I know a lot of people that are, you know, in depression that take medicine. And, I mean, the older you get, I don't know what it is, but the older you get, the more remorse you are. You don't want to ask anybody for help, you know. And kids are like that because they're afraid to go forward, you know.
Right.
So I always say it's best just talk to somebody. You know, talk to your siblings, you know. See what they say, you know, and help you work the problems out. And I try to hold a lot of hands. I mean, I pay it forward a lot. And I'm going to get back into it where I'm going to talk to the LGBT teens of Lyons Township High School.
All right.
I want to get into that.
And I talked to a youth group in Naperville, and one of the things I came out with was, I mean, they were all comfortable with, and we talked a little bit about this last week with Bonnie. They were all very comfortable with where they were at the moment, okay, in time. But I didn't really get a sense of their thinking about what life is going to be like 10, 20, 30 years down the road.
And you don't know. You know, you play it by ear.
Right.
Like we did.
Right.
I mean, basically, that's all we did.
Right.
You know, I came out when I was 18. I came out when I was 30. And I came out again when I was 45.
Wow.
And I stayed out after 45.
Okay. So you can, and that's kind of like a form of denial when you come out, but then you say, no, I'm not going to deal with this, so I'm going to go back in.
It was more medical issues. I went through a lot of medical.
Well, that's true. Yeah, you were telling me about that.
I had a cyst on my ovaries.
Mm-hmm.
That happened in 2008, actually.
Wow.
That's what really pushed me out the door. You know, so time to get out and deal with this.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
I understand exactly. Yeah, you were telling. Well, didn't you have some surgery not too long ago too?
No, I didn't. I had cancer.
Oh, okay.
2 years ago, or a year ago.
Oh, okay.
And 5.5 months. I had 33 sessions of radiation and 6 sessions of chemo. Lost my hair twice.
Oh, man. Well, it's looking good now, girl. I'll tell you that. Let's take a short break here.
Okay, everyone, we will be right back after these messages. Please stay tuned.
We have a surprise for you. Rick Garcia showed up a week early.
Absolutely. So we get to see him 2 weeks in a row. All right. And do you know Shauna? Have you ever met Shauna?
I've seen Rick before, but we've never talked.
We've never officially met.
Right.
Okay.
It's
Well,
good to meet you.
Rick, this is Shauna. Shauna, this is Rick. This is Sarah.
Hi, Rick.
Hi, Sarah. Good to meet
Long
you.
time no see.
And again, and again.
And of course, Laura on the board. Okay. And I'm Jackie, by the way.
Are you sure?
Not always. Not always. So, anyway, but this, now, getting somebody to talk to is quite difficult
Right.
for a lot of people.
Right.
I like the idea that you presented as far as talking with siblings, because it seems to me, and I've read this in HuffPost, where 63% of the age group up to well, those that were pulled, obviously, which is going to be maybe teenagers up to like 30 or 40, that 63% have no problem with, with LGBTs, whereas anybody over 40, it drops down to almost 37.
Well, that's a big reason for that, because
Right.
of families and whatnot.
Right. And so I can see, and like we had Mickey and her sister on, with both her father and her mother, and she told her sister before she told her parents.
I told my sister before I told my
Did
parents.
you? Okay. And how did she react?
Oh, she was really cool.
Was she?
Yeah, my sister's 100% LGBT, advocate. She's got a lot of gay friends, lesbian friends. So it was really cool. I mean, and we joke about going shopping together.
I was going to say, did you guys go shopping a lot? Did she pick out clothes?
Well, we buy the same clothes almost.
Really?
Like I was looking at a pair of boots, and I went off and bought these knee boots,
Yeah.
riding boots. And I told my sister, she goes, "I just bought those boots." I'm like, "Get out of here!" Well, I guess I won't be wearing those too often.
Did you take them back, perchance? Because these might... No, never mind. But now, is she older or is she younger?
She's younger than me.
Okay.
She's
That's
in her
cool.
30s.
And I think brothers and sisters probably, maybe sisters more than brothers, perhaps. I think...
I think it was really cool was my nieces, ages, I think it was like 6 and 7, and my sister had told them that now I'm Auntie Shauna
Right.
instead of Uncle Shauna, and they were really, really cool about it. Matter of fact, they asked the right questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like the youngest one says, "So what bathroom does she use?" And my sister said, "I'm sure she uses the girl bathroom." And then they said, "Kind of bathing suit she gonna wear?" My sister goes, "Well, we'll get to that when we get to that."
So, Rick, did you tell your parents first, or?
My siblings knew first.
Did
Oh,
they?
I see.
And I you got me?
Came out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I did.
You're dangling.
I remember, I think it was at Thanksgiving, my youngest brother called me a fag.
Oh, no.
And I just looked at him, and then he said, "Oh my God, you are." And I just grinned at him. So and then he tells my other brothers, and then they tell my mother, and she freaks out.
Of course.
And then my mother tells my father, and he freaks out even more. He said that I was gay just to annoy him. to torment him.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
And my mom said, "Don't you think you should tell Dad?" I said, "Well, I didn't tell you. If you want to tell him, go ahead." She said, "Well, I better tell him." I go, "You deal with him."
How old were you?
About 21. 20.
Okay.
Yeah, 20. In my 21 or 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never really told my mom and dad, mostly because when I was seven or 8 years old, and I was trying on Mom's clothes, and she caught me and she took me to a psychiatrist. So that told me right then and there that I got to behave myself if I didn't want to go to the funny farm or something. But what was strange was two things. Number one, I saw the psychiatrist, came out, waited in the waiting room. My mom went in, talked to the psychiatrist, came out. She didn't say one word to me about what they had discussed. And in retrospect, I don't remember a whole lot of what he and I discussed, other than because I was going to get my tonsils out, he told me, he says, well, show me how you would take your tonsils out. It was, I don't know what it was supposed to prove, but he came out from around his desk and sat in one of the wingback chairs, and I said, okay. I said, well, tilt your head back. And I pretended to pick something up, and he says, what's that? I said, that's a pair of pliers. I'm going to get used to yank those suckers out. And he said, okay, that's all right, never mind. And I don't remember anything outside of that during our discussion. Went out, Mom went in, she came out, never talked about it again. Mom never said a word to me about it. My dad never said a word to me about it. Now I got to know, Dad's not springing for a psychiatrist unless he knows something about why I'm going, okay? And, but, I mean, so then, like you said, from that point on, I just figured, well, okay, I better keep it cool and
Keep it quiet.
Yeah, keep it quiet and not worry about it. And of course, through school, I didn't dress anymore. And through, when I was in the service, I didn't dress anymore because obviously you're in a barracks, you can't do that. Got married, so on and so forth. So I never really, by the time I really started, coming out and finding out more about it myself, my dad had already passed away. My mom was in a
Senior home?
In fact, when I started cross-dressing, I shaved off my mustache. Okay.
How is that? I've never had any hair on my face, so I can't figure out what that is.
Well,
I was 35 before I had any on mine. My sister has a thicker mustache than I do.
Oh, my God.
Sorry, Tina.
Yeah, see, I can't grow one back. It'd take too long, and that's why I was reluctant to shave it off. I mean, there was a lot of time invested in that sucker.
I've heard about that.
Do you know what I think is interesting? As a little gay boy in the 70s, we all had I had thick black long hair, and in those days we still had the gas station attendant, and more often than not, I'd pull my little Volkswagen in, and the attendant would come up to me and say, "Yes, ma'am, may I help you?" and I'd go to, because I had not a wrinkle on my face, believe that look, and no facial hair whatsoever, and quite the little sissy, and every place I went, I was always referred to as ma'am or miss.
Really?
I bet you can't wait for your hair to grow on your face.
Well, that's the point, is that I started to grow a mustache, and it wouldn't come in, and I took the Maybelline mascara.
Don't laugh, because
and kind of painted it on to make it thicker. And I kept thinking, when am I going to get facial hair? And
except the mascara, you couldn't curl, right?
Well, no, I would have if I could have, but it didn't grow enough.
Yeah.
It was like, and so and frankly, that was sort of a thing for me, because they'd call me miss or they call me ma'am. So getting the little mascara here, then I wouldn't have to go through that, because it was I don't know, uncomfortable, sometimes embarrassing, or whatever.
Well,
One of my favorite.
Your height probably had something to do with it.
Well,
too,
I'm like, I was 5'7" and 120 pounds.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, plus if
With those big cuffs and puffy shirts and big bell bottoms and what do they call platform shoes?
Right.
Oh my God.
Hello.
Well, and the other problem is mascara. If you start sweating and your mustache starts running.
No. You have I learned to get the non-running mascara.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I used to put that's the other thing. I put bronzer on my face. So here it is, the middle of winter. I'm in college in St. Louis, Missouri. My face is as tan as what's his name, Representative Bonner.
Boehner.
But yeah, Boehner. Yeah, and I remember going to mass one a day almost like today, raining but lots of snow. And I go into mass and I sit next to a friend of mine, and he said, "Go to the bathroom." I said, "I don't have to go." He said, yes, you do. And so I go into the bathroom, and I had where the snowflakes hit my makeup, and were just little streaks.
Your face is raining. Your face is running.
Turn into a leopard.
But you know what? I think like these stories are really important for other people to hear, and this issue is really very much generational.
Oh, sure.
That my youngest siblings, this is like no big deal.
Oh, yeah.
But and my nieces and nephews,
They're more adept to it.
They don't think anything.
No.
And when they hear some of the problems or issues or struggles that our communities have gone through, they're like, well, what the hell is that all about?
Right.
That's you know, and I think and one of the things that helped me, and I'm sure it's helped all of us, is that fortunately for me, my mother and father had gay friends.
Okay.
Now, they weren't quite aware, or that
Right.
it was never talked about. The friends didn't identify as
Right.
gay. One of my mother's best friends, you know, totally a gay boy. And my father, one of his best friends, it was a man who lived with another man in the Vintage area of our city. You know, hello. But in those days, nothing was ever talked about. But then when they
They're
found
roommates.
out, well, yeah, exactly. But when they find out about me,
Yeah.
all of a sudden there were other people in their lives that they knew were gay.
Right.
And that said, well, wait a minute. Oh, well, that's fine. I guess Rick is going to be fine too. And one of the things that I think, and I always say this, one of the most powerful things our communities can do is be open and upfront.
Oh, absolutely.
Because our strongest advocates are our families and our friends.
Right.
And so many people today are, you know, accepting and pro, or don't even think about this should be an issue, and it's because a family member or a good friend is out and open about who they are.
Right.
And that's healthy for friends, it's healthy for those family groups, and it's healthy for us.
Well, it teaches tolerance, and you know, it's like, okay, you know, your parents were friends with these, you know, with gays and lesbians and whatnot, and so you know, other people see that and said, okay, well, okay, I guess we can treat them as, you know, as just
Right.
other human beings and so on and so forth. I have my ex-wife. Well, you met Noni, and she has a niece in Atlanta that refers to me as Aunt, and she knew me as Jack. Okay, and I was always Uncle Jack. Now she calls me Aunt Jackie. So she's, you know, she's very accepting. Couple of, you know, her other nieces are fairly accepting. I do find, it seems to me, that girls or women have an easier time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Right away, because it's,
Absolutely.
they
Right.
look at the transgender men do it, and it's like, right away you're gay. Right off the top.
And then there's that threat there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Where women are not threatened by any of
All
us.
my
I don't
male
know.
Right,
friends,
right.
we used to have this bond,
right.
the male privilege. It's
Well,
gone.
they're either afraid they're going to catch it.
I don't have it anymore. you know.
Right, or they're afraid that they're going to get taken in, so to speak.
Well, they did in a way because I blended in with the male crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I became a man. I was the best actor you have ever seen. And then when I came out, everybody's like, "No way!" All the women knew. Oh, mind you, they knew something was wrong because I'd wear big, heavy sweaters. I'd keep myself all covered up all the time. It'd be summertime. I'd be wearing a sweater.
Well, you know, Ernest Hemingway had a brother, George Hemingway. George Hemingway was a transgender. He was married twice. He had, during the two marriages, he had 2 girls and 2 boys. And the boys disowned him. The 2 boys disowned him, had nothing to do with him. Okay? The girls were ecstatic about it.
Yeah.
But I find that the girls like the idea of, oh, now I can help Dad with the makeup, with the clothes, and so on and so forth. They really get excited about it, you know. So
I was glad my mom was around until I was like 23 because I learned all the basics I needed to know. My makeup, whatever. When I put my makeup on, it takes me 10 minutes, and then out the door. I mean, that's it.
she was fairly accepting, right?
Oh yeah, she was 100%. My stepmother and my dad, when I came out, I'll never forget it. I brought pictures. I said, "This is the way I'm gonna be looking from now on." I mean, basically, hey, this is
This is
from
it.
night and day. My stepmother turned stone cold. I mean, absolute like a wall. I'm like, okay, this is not going good. She goes,
Let me show you another picture here.
she said to me, she goes, "Oh, I understand. You're going through a phase." I'm like, "No, I'm not going through no phase."
I've been going through a phase. Now.
Yeah,
Now
I'm
this
still
is
going
it.
through that phase.
Well, the best part was she goes, "I don't want you coming to my work twirling around in your little dress." I'm like, "And I do that now?"
So what, do you want me to take it off while I'm there?
There's another point, and we talk about acceptance. What is our tolerance? I don't like those two terms at all, because no one should have to accept us, and certainly no one should ever have to tolerate us, because we are who we are, and we should be proud.
We're humans.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I remember.
I agree.
I remember an extremely good friend of our family, and I hadn't seen her in maybe 10 or 15 years, and I went to my father's, I don't know, 65th birthday or something, and it's at a hall, and so there's Betty, like she's been intertwined with our family forever, and so I see her, give her a big hug, and she wants to dance. So we're dancing, and she said, "You were always one of my favorite kids of Rita and Rich. I love you so much." I said, "Oh, well, I loved you too, Betty." And then she said to me, "And even though I don't accept your lifestyle, I still love you." Now, for her, I think that was a huge step. All right?
Right.
And for me, because this is how I am, we didn't miss a beat, and I said, "Betty, I really appreciate that, because I don't accept your lifestyle, but I love you anyway."
I like that.
And then
That's good.
her eyes got this big, and she said, "Oh my God, I didn't mean to be offensive." I said, "I didn't take it in an offensive way. I'm just saying that because I didn't like her lifestyle. She did all kinds of things that I didn't approve of, but it's not my business. That's her."
Right.
So I think it's real important that we accept ourselves. And now, the only time I talk about tolerating is tolerating my own self. Okay, Rick, you got to tolerate. Because I think it's real important that we really have to throw our shoulders back, dig our heels in, and be the proud, affirmed people that we are. And that's very important.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I think it's very hard to go forward until you do accept yourself.
Yeah.
Just as I say so often, it's very hard, very difficult to explain, because if you haven't accepted yourself and if you haven't understood exactly what it is, you can't explain to
You gotta
someone.
love yourself before you love anybody
Well,
else.
exactly. And the other thing is you can't expect other people to respect you and look at you as an equal and as a whole person if you don't look at yourself that way.
Oh, absolutely.
And so many of us, for a lot of our lives, we try to please others.
Right.
And we don't want to be rejected. That's why we don't come out. We don't want to be rejected. We want to please others. We want affirmation from them.
Right.
And the reality is, if they reject you, the only person who loses there is that individual.
Absolutely.
Of rejecting our gifts and our talents and our lives.
That's right.
So I think it's for healthiness for ourselves. It's very important to do what we've all done, and to lead really strong, positive, affirmed lives. That's
You got to
really
be confident. You got to say to yourself, "Okay, I can't let somebody wants to stare daggers at me. Okay, might hurt the eyes a little bit, but nuts with it.
Well,
They'll heal."
My stepmother, she said to me, she says, "Sean, why don't you why couldn't you just be gay?
Oh, yeah.
And I says,
I had that.
Do you
I
have that
says,
as well?
I am gay.
I was a-
I like
Sister.
girls.
Yeah.
My sister said that to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And after that, after it was like 10 months, and then she got really cool. She started buying me beauty products,
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
body washes, you know,
Oh, nice.
all the
Well,
makeup. I mean, it blended right in. I mean, all I had to do was give it time. But my father, on the other hand, is like, he's a real schmo.
No.
That's what I told this one gal in an elevator one time at Columbia College, and I don't know. I was going there, and I went as Jackie. I would get changed. I worked at a bank, get changed in a car, go to school. And this one class, the professor, asked me to, tell the class a little bit about, what is transgender all about. So I tried to explain it, and I tried to tell them the difference between sexual orientation and gender identity, most of which seemed to either get it or didn't
Right.
care one way or the other. But there was this one gal after class. We're on the elevator and we're going down, and she said, "Well, I mean, the elevator's going down anyway."
I knew that was coming, Jack.
I see they come before they.
Oh, God.
So anyway, she looks at me and she says, "I don't understand." I said, "Okay, what don't you understand?" She says, "Well, I don't understand. Why do you want to be a female?" Because I had told them in class that I wasn't gay. I don't like guys. I like women. She said, "I don't understand. Why do you want to be a female if you don't like guys?" And I said, "Well, first of all, you got to understand is that it's not I want to be. I am. Please get that cemented down first. Let's get that first brick in place." Okay. I said, "It's not I want. I am." She says, "I still don't understand why you don't like guys." And I said, "Well, probably because there are women that like women." And I said, "And the other thing is you're confusing gender identity with sexual orientation."
Correct.
And I said, "They're not the same. Identity is what I see in myself, looking at myself, nobody else. Okay? Orientation is who you want to be with. Two totally different subjects." She says, "Well, I still don't get it." And I said, "Well, I don't know how to explain it other than I guess you're just going to have to consider me a male lesbian." She said, "Oh, now I get it." I said, "Good. Now explain it to me because you've just totally confused me."
Do you know what I think is interesting? Or I think that's helped me with this whole process and the way things have changed, is the very first transsexual, as we used to call everybody in those days, transsexual that I met was also a lesbian. And a lot of my friends, so this is very, this is like early 80s or late 70s, early 80s, and all of my friends would say, "What the hell is with her? If she's going to be with women, why didn't she just stay a boy?" Well, and then I learned in talking to her that she's never been a boy. That's what people have assigned to her, and it made such perfect sense to me about the distinction, and that has come to serve me very, very well over the next 30 years, because that distinction of our identity and our sexual or emotional and romantic attractions, and one has nothing to do with the other.
Absolutely.
And I think people are beginning to understand that.
Oh, I think so.
More. And the reason they're beginning to understand it is so many more of us are out and open, so they can see the diversity of all of our lives.
Well, my father, he's like the closed book of, I don't know. You try to explain things, and he just does not grasp. And I put him on the internet, and I showed him things, and try to explain it to him. You figure he might have a little bit of a grasp, but he still doesn't get it. I had one of my great friends come out from California and stay with me for a couple days. Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, she's absolutely gorgeous. And my father says, "Why would a boy turn into a girl, have his thing cut off, and then want to be with girls?" What? So I try to explain to her. I go, because she's attracted to women. This is what she wants to be with. And he's like, well, why would you do that? Why would you want to grow hair on your head, Dad? Why is everything, So now I think my father is finally grasping the idea that I'm his daughter. I mean,
Excellent.
it's taken almost 50 years, but, he finally got a taste of it.
Okay, we're going to take a short break here, and
You are, huh?
Well,
no, we aren't.
we still have 5 minutes.
Okay.
Five or 6 minutes, yeah.
Another incident. Oh my God! I was 16 years old. I will never forget it. I wanted to be a boy so bad. Oh my God! I just wanted to be like my brothers. They all have facial hair, sideburns, hair on their chest. Ugh. But I went out and bought a mustache, and I put it on. Oh my God!
You were probably standing next to me when I was buying one. And
I
that
was gonna
glue.
Oh my God!
It smells terrible, and everybody knows it's fake.
And my father goes, "What the hell is that on your face?" I go, "I grew a mustache."
Did you ever look into what do they call those? I know the name for them. The wigs that you put on your
Oh,
chest,
my God.
so
Oh,
that
my
it
God.
looks like you have.
Oh, no, I didn't even know.
And I got
Oh,
caught one time wearing my mom's,
You tried
or my
that?
stepmother's nightgown.
Well, I
Oh,
looked
really?
at them.
Oh my God!
By
Was
who?
Oh.
Your dad?
my stepmother actually. And
Oh, okay.
for my punishment for a whole week, I had to wear a dress, and my brothers are like,
Oh, that
Oh,
was like punishment, right?
my brother goes, "He's gonna do it again next week."
Well, did you see the article, and we talked about it on one of the shows back some time ago. There's this guy in Germany who's got like a 7-8-year-old boy, okay? He loves to go out in a dress wherever he goes, school,
I think I've
shopping,
seen that.
whatever. Yeah, okay? So in order to show support for his son, whenever he takes his son out, the father will wear a skirt.
Excuse.
That's pretty. I like that. I like that. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
So if you can ever get your dad to do that,
Oh my God!
You can go have a day of beauty.
yeah, Dad, let's go shopping.
Have him go to the spa.
Go
with
to
me.
the spa. Yeah.
Get a facial, Dad.
Well, either way, he was taking quite a chance.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I think it's so amazing when parents or family members really take that extra step and stand up, because it really it affirms that child, to be who she is or who he is.
Oh, absolutely.
And it also shows the great love that this father has for the kid.
I was doing a lecture once, and I thought I'd get really crafty, and I made up all these labels, gay and lesbian, and I handed them out to the students. Okay, the rest of the day I want you to wear these. And one student actually took me up on that and did it, and she says, you would be surprised at how many looks I got. She was very disappointed to some of her closest friends, did not understand.
right.
So she had a real life lesson that
Well,
day.
like on Facebook, when people address me as trans, lesbian, whatever, I say, no. I says I am who I am. I'm not a label. That belongs on a can of soup. You address me as Shauna.
Right.
There's no label above my head. I don't perceive myself as anything other than a woman.
Right.
And that's how people address me.
Well,
Don't put a label on me.
I agree wholeheartedly. Unfortunately, we live and it probably isn't a government on the face of the earth that doesn't have labels.
Everybody has
you know.
labels,
And,
It's like,
and that's the unfortunate part. And I know I had.
I think that's a man thing.
I had a couple of. Yeah.
Don't look at me.
I've had a couple of real good conversations on Facebook about that, and I got some pretty nasty comments a couple of times
Really?
when we were talking about it. And I said, hey, look, I didn't make the word up. Merriam-Webster,
Right.
put it in the book, not me. And where he got it from, I have no clue, because we go all the way back to 3,000 years or whatever. So, I'm just saying that if, for us to have our voices heard, we have to unite. And we can't be bickering about who is or who isn't transgender. Okay? The term is there. Okay? And unfortunately,
The umbrella, they call it.
yeah, the term is there.
Do you know-
Unfortunately, we have to tell, the congressmen, the senators, the representatives, the politicians don't see us as, this, that, or the other.
This is, I think you've all heard me say this line over and over and over again. And that, excuse me, within our communities, especially within the trans community, I have to say, there are these distinctions. I've had people say, I am a transsexual. I am not a cross-dresser. Cross-dressers say, I'm not a transsexual. I'm a cross-dresser. We go all down the line of these things. And what I say to our enemies, we are all the same. The only difference between me and an M to F is I'm a fag and she's a fag in a dress. And that is how and I'm serious, that is how they view us all. That's how they treat us all. Yeah.
So you're a cigarette, huh?
I've never heard that one. Okay. But no, that's true. The word is there. There's no sense denying, we have to use it. Okay? Because that's what everyone else is going to use. So, let's take a break and we'll be back and we'll talk more about soup can labels in a couple of minutes.
We will be back after these messages. Please stay tuned. And welcome back, everyone, to the Jackie OOOOO Show with our guest today, Rick Garcia and Shauna.
Baggett.
Shauna. No,
Baggett. Shauna Baggett?
Yeah,
Shauna Baggett.
Yeah, don't wrap it, bag it, get it. Or faggot, bag it.
I used to do that in the grocery store. My very first job. I was a bagger.
Bagger.
Yeah, don't get them confused now.
So, there's a couple of things that I wanted, and it's nice that Rick showed up.
I'll be on the spot.
Huh?
I'll be on the spot.
No. Actually, this is going to be some discussion stuff. This I have a hard time grasping in the fact that, and I'm sure you guys have seen this in the news on HuffPost, so on and so forth, about the judge, I believe it was in Massachusetts, that said that an inmate who is in there, for murder, should be allowed, to have SRS.
But the problem I have with that is, okay, I'm not against anybody having their SRS, but she doesn't want to leave the male population, and she wants to have the operation.
Well, I'm not concerned about that.
And it's the taxpayers' money on top of it.
Well, and that's kind of what I'm getting at, is it's still the taxpayers' money.
How long is she going to be in?
And I don't know if she's in for life or whatever, but the judge is trying to, and it says here, U.S. District Court Judge Mark L. Wolf, concerned that the state of Massachusetts is dragging its heels, stepped up enforcement of his order to prep for the sex reassignment surgery for trans inmate Michelle Kozak.
Yeah, I know.
Koselek or something like that.
Michelle.
Yeah, Michelle.
It works.
That's easier.
Michelle K.
But I think what aggravates me most about it is because there's arguments in here, well, it's not taxpayer money. Well, it is. The prison system is run on taxpayer money.
Exactly.
Okay? So if taxpayer money whether at the state level or the federal level, federal level,
That's the same thing.
whether it's taxpayer money at the state or federal level, okay, can be spent for a transgender to get SRS in prison, then why can't the VA or why can't
Perfect example.
Medicare
Take care of it.
take care of, those that aren't in prison?
Right.
Because I tried to do that, and the VA said no. Medicare disapproved it because it's cosmetic surgery. Why is it not cosmetic surgery here?
Exactly.
Didn't
they change
You know what? Here's what I think, and that is, I think the judge recognized how important. What's the word? Maybe surgery or other care is appropriate, and so I think he ruled. I mean, I don't know his mind, but it seems to me that I know if I was sitting there and looked at this, saying she needs some medical treatment. She needs something to be done. So why are you denying it to her? That's one thing. The other thing is there is this whole move, even with private insurance companies, to set in rules, and I think 2 states have rules, that insurance companies have to include SRS and hormonal therapy and all the other things that go along with it to be included in policies, so that if you have a policy, you can get those kinds of...
Blue Cross Blue Shield, you can get that. It's down the line.
But Medicare should incorporate it too.
Yeah,
Yes.
they should. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because
And
there's other countries, and to me they're third world countries like Argentina and Brazil and
They're
whatnot.
doing it
yeah.
for nothing, right?
If you're below a certain income level,
They take care of
the
it.
government will take care of it to keep people from going to some
Canada, they do
you
it
know,
and everything else.
in the Obama health care plan, Obamacare as it's now being called, one of the arguments from people who opposed it was that it would provide for sex reassignment surgery. And that was one of their talking points of why we have to oppose Obamacare.
Well,
Oh, jeez.
okay, but that was passed, was it not?
It was passed, but I actually think that piece was taken out because of the opposition. I don't know though. But I'll tell you, here in Illinois, I've been working to make sure that people who have insurance are able to get the treatments that they need. And you just say, just can't say it's cosmetic or we don't cover that.
Yeah.
So we're working. It's going to take time, and I think, all right, maybe in the federal court system there's a ruling and they're going to have to follow it there. Then we have to work with Medicare and Medicaid, and then we have to work with insurance companies. So I think it's piecemeal. Frankly, you get it. So we get it there, which is appropriate, even though it doesn't seem consistent,
Right.
but appropriate. And then how do we make that policy consistent across the board?
Right.
Does
Well,
that
if
make
we-
sense?
Yeah.
I think,
I understand.
I think it makes a lot of us uncomfortable. Here you have somebody in prison, and we have to go through this great expense because it's not cheap. And if she was on the outside, as you say,
Right.
she wouldn't get any of that.
Right.
So, but
And what did she go to prison for?
Murder.
All right.
So she's
so-
actually on death row then.
I don't know. It didn't.
So
I
is
don't
that-
remember.
well,
It sounds like it's like
Massachusetts not
like an
the death
incentive.
penalty.
Oh, okay.
If I commit murder, maybe I'll get my sex change.
Oh,
So then everybody will be doing it.
no.
You know?
It's a high price to pay, although you do get free room and board.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, this is
And
this
an
is
occasional
off.
blanket.
This is off topic, but it is somewhat related, and that is we find, especially among young trans people, all right, that many of them end up in the Cook County Jail or other county jails or city jails because the way that they can get hormones is by what some I think would consider petty things, stealing, also the sex trade, and they do this so that they can get the hormones or the other treatments that they need, and then what also compounds that and there was a case just recently. A young trans woman was picked up by police, suspected of being a prostitute, and they find her hormones on her. And then, of course, well, what is this? And they think they don't know what it is, some illicit drug, and then she goes to jail not only on suspicion of prostitution, but also on drug charges. And so it really is a vicious circle for so many young trans people who don't have any resources, and for them to feel good about themselves, they need that, you know, and then they end up once. I don't care. Once you get into that justice system,
Right.
it's really hard for you to get out of it. Because depending on the charge, when you get out, people may not hire you, or, it's all you know, or you have this big chunk of time that, what have you done but sit in a cell? It's horrible.
Yeah.
And a lot of that could be taken care of if we had decent health care for everybody, and that people wouldn't have to turn to the streets or turn to petty theft.
Or self-medicating. That's another one.
Or self-medicating.
I hate that one too.
Well, that's true. too.
Self-medicating.
Absolutely.
That's terrible. Self-medicating.
And that's and so I think so this might be a very, very good case in that it can start turning the tide to where we need to be with our health care in this country.
Well, it is with the State Court of Appeals, but Judge Wolf has apparently put the actual surgery on hold while the state does appeal it, but he's pushing, which is good. The good part of this is that there is a judge out there that understands what we're trying to say, and recognizes and realizes that the surgery is a completion towards an end, of making a person feel, okay, now I'm not in transition, I am there now, okay? But we also got to get them thinking about people that aren't in jail, so on and so forth.
I know a zillion people, I know a zillion people who can't afford almost anything. And,
My surgery alone is $20,000.
Yeah.
And they're talking about reattaching everything together. I'm like, why? I'm not going to have any kids. I'm a little old for that,
Oh, come on, you're not midlife. Yeah, okay, wait a minute.
I'm not jumping on that bandwagon. I've had kidney stones. I know what it's like.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I've had those.
Really?
Anyway, I just think that, that's something. Outside of that,
Yes.
okay. So tell us more about...
What I'm trying to do?
Yes.
Well, I talk on a whole spectrum of everybody, the gay community, the lesbian community, everybody. Like I said, everybody's the same. We're all humans.
Oh, absolutely.
Gay, straight, I don't care who you are. We're all the same. So whenever I have questions, I respond. Like, trans community always kills me. They're always like, Shauna, I wish I was like you. You're intersex. You got a reason. I go, you know what? I'll trade you any day. You can have all my medical issues, and I'll just transition as a trans.
Right.
It'll be the easiest thing I can ever do in my whole life. But as soon as I mention the medical portion of it, nobody wants to be me anymore. They don't.
I know.
What are you going to do? I mean,
Well, we've never
It is
really
what it is.
established just exactly where an individual lies on being intersex. I mean, is it with the brain? I mean, a lot of people would fall into that category.
well, mine's more of a, because I got the dual sexes. And the thing that I'm trying to emphasize more than anything in the medical field is I want doctors to be educated in it. Because when I go in to see a doctor, especially when I came from Virginia, I was in Virginia for my cancer, and I came up here to Chicago to get my treatments done. I went to the ER because I have blood clots from the cancer. And the doctor right away goes, "Oh, you're intersex. So what gender are you?" I go, "I'm an outlaw. I can be anything I want."
What do you want me to be?
Put me down as D, all of the above.
So, but then he wanted to know because of the anatomy, I said, well, I'm both. How do you look at that? So
Right.
I would like to see more medical people able to recognize the intersex community as well as the trans community. Trans, you got male, female. That's the genders. Intersex, you got, I think there's like 60 different flavors of intersex.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And that's based on what parts you have or don't have?
Right.
Or,
And
okay.
some you can see and some you can't see. Like if I were to take my clothes off, the only thing different about me and Joe Schmo is I got boobs right now. But my x-rays and my MRIs and all that shows my different parts, my uterus and my...
How about your?
I have one testy.
What about
And
your skeletal structure?
Actually, I'm more female than I am male.
Okay.
I have no brow bone. I have no Adam's apple.
What about the pelvis?
Yeah, I got the hips.
Okay.
I mean, it shows when I'm eating wrong. I get all pissed off about that.
I have the same trouble.
I have small. Everything about me is small. Like my brothers all got like big hands and stuff. I'm the oldest of all the kids, and I got smaller features than all of them. So.
Well, I know years ago there was a big push to get surgeons to stop doing
Oh yeah.
surgery on
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah,
That's a big
intersex.
thing.
And I
still-
think they've
we're
made
still
some
doing that.
progress in that area.
I think they have.
Because
Right.
that is a big, big thing. I mean, because right away they want to cut.
Well, and it's always seemed so strange to me when I've read about this is that doctors would say, I think at some point they even called it indeterminate
Right.
sex, okay? So why are they so obsessed with assigning something to that individual?
'Cause they don't know what they're doing.
Because they don't know what they're doing. I mean, and that's why I think when you say we have to educate the medical professionals about it for a wide range of issues, because if they've assigned you as a male, then they're not going to be looking for, breast problems. Or there's a whole range.
Like when I had the cyst, nobody knew what the heck was going on. They're like, I'm sicker than a dog. Got pain in my stomach. Right away they think it's a gallbladder or whatever. I had my gallbladder taken out, so I don't have that no more. You know. So the only way they figured it out is when they gave me my X-rays.
Well, that's why they call them practicing physicians. There's never a physician that isn't practicing. They're still always practicing. Sometimes they get it right, sometimes they don't.
That's
but they're
kind of
always
scary,
practicing.
Yeah.
Well, you know the difference between a doctor that graduates, or do you know what they call a doctor that graduates dead last in his class in medical school?
What, a dentist?
No. Do you know?
No.
No.
Doctor.
Oh.
So it doesn't make any difference how well you did in medical school. You're still, if you graduate, you're still a
Well, they say a better doctor. The better doctors are the ones that turn into veterinarians, because they know every different type of animal there is, and the ones that don't make veterinary school end up being regular doctors.
Whoa.
Do you know
That's
what? You know what? This is kind of interesting, because I would suspect from things that I've heard from people who, particularly intersex people, about how in the medical profession how hard it is to find someone who understands what is going on.
Right.
My vet gave me a whole rundown on my dog who is intersex, and among schnauzers they have ovaries and they have testicles, and so when they went to spay him, they realized he also had ovaries, and so they said it's a very common occurrence among schnauzers. So I thought to myself, so my vet understands this phenomena and knows what to do. How many doctors know that. Do you know what I mean? Right? And you have the experience. I keep thinking, God, I know my, I shouldn't say, yeah, my doctor, but I don't think I have a clue.
Well, if you stop and think about it, in the old days, you know, go back to the old days.
What was that like last week?
A couple, 3 weeks ago, a couple months ago. But back in the old days, you know, a vet could actually perform, you know, medical services on human beings.
Oh.
Yeah, because they know all the different skeletal and anatomy
But-
of all the different varieties that are out there.
But to find a doctor that knew anything about what was wrong with the horse, they couldn't.
Right, right,
You know, outside of an obvious broken leg or something.
right.
You know, it's like,
Makes sense.
oh, I don't know. So, you know, yeah, I can totally believe that
There's so much out there. I mean,
they probably have a lot more overall knowledge about, you know,
like on my blog explains a lot about the intersex. You know, how I'm affected with it. And, I used to be the consul for Illinois until they changed it over about a year ago. And now it's all out of Australia. But each state had our own intersex person, like a representative. And for years I was the representative for Illinois. Plus, I used to be the web mistress for Oplica, Oak Park's gay lesbian. So I was a web mistress there. And I got conned into that. They're like, oh, Shauna knows how to do that. What?
what time is it, sir?
Oh, it's about time for a break.
Okay, all right. Why don't we take one now?
Okay. Well, stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back with Rick Garcia and Shauna Baggett after these. Welcome back, everybody, to the Jackie OOOOO Show.
Thank you, Sarah. The mouth isn't working yet. By the time we get done here, it should be working fine. A couple of things I wanted to mention again is Center on Halstead for those in the Chicagoland area. Don't forget that the Center on Halstead has an anti-violence hotline, and their number is 312-714-1141. Again, the number is 312-714-1141. That number is manned 24/7, 365. That poor guy never gets a day off.
I was going to say, don't they put a woman in there?
Well, he must have, talking about a mustache, down to, never mind. Anyway.
Thank you very much.
And also, the Center on Halstead has what is called the Home Sharing Program. This is a program for those that may need to share cohabitation either financially or socially because they just can't live on their own or whatever. You can get information on that at also the Center on Halstead, 773-472-6469. And also don't forget the Howard Brown Center, which is on
Sheridan Road.
North Sheridan Road.
4,500 something.
45, okay. So North Sheridan Road, so, you know, there's plenty of assistance in the Chicagoland area. I haven't been able to get Charlie to commit to come on to tell us about the house for transgenders. Home.
Oh, Chicago House.
Is that what it called, Chicago House?
Chicago House has a brand new program called, I can't remember now, but it assists people in housing and in employment and in training and all kinds of social services and other things you need. So it's a building. Chicago House started as an AIDS hospice. They have houses all over for people with HIV and AIDS.
Okay.
And as that changed, Chicago House recognized that there was a great need among transgender people for all kinds of services and housing,
Temporary housing.
yeah, and all that kind of stuff. And so they've put together a wonderful program that not only provides housing but skills on how to find a job and
That's cool.
get training
I like that.
That's
and
good.
you know, all kinds of things for the transgender community.
Cool.
And so I was so thrilled when they started this because it you know, it's a need that I see all of the time.
Oh, absolutely.
And so it's wonderful that they're doing it. Reverend Stan Sloan is the executive director, and he put together and here's the other thing that I like about it, is that there's an advisory board for that I think it's, well, I can't remember the name, whatever. And most of the people on that board are trans people themselves.
Cool.
So that they can make,
I like that.
you know, like it isn't like these professionals who come and say this is what needs to be done and this is what
Yeah.
we're going to do. It's real people that say here's what needs to be done and
Here's
this is
what-
how we should do it. So
here's what
it's a
we need.
wonderful program. And you really should have Stan or somebody from the program.
That's what I'd like to do.
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, this one, Charlie Parker, who's been on our show before, is supposed to be working there. And I've been trying to get
Oh,
her
good.
to come on. But now, let me ask you a question. Because when Representative Maria Barrios was on, and she was talking about they were doing something in her district of the same. So are there two of them, or
Well,
is this?
and they're a little different. They're
Okay.
similar, but a little different. El Rescate is the rescue, and it's on Division Street, and it's associated with the Puerto Rican Cultural Center.
Okay.
And they recognize, especially in that community, homelessness not only among lesbian and gay kids, but especially transgender kids. And so what this is it's a whole it's a building that provides housing. They have two high schools close, Roberto Clemente and then the alternative high school. So wherever the kid fits best, and it gets them off the street, and it gets them education and everything taken care of. So
Living
El
facility.
Rescate is one. It's not just trans, but it's lesbian and
LGBT.
gay also. And now, and I know that El Rescate is working on trying to find employment opportunities.
That's cool.
For trans folks.
I like to hear that.
And start like an incubator. Juan Calderon is their executive director, and he talks about having an incubator in that area for trans folks to begin businesses.
Oh, cool.
I like that too.
Exactly, and and provide them not only so much getting a job, but creating it and having and doing it. And it's neighborhood based. It's the Humboldt Park area. So there are some very exciting things happening, and El Rescate is one, and Chicago House is another one.
Juan Calderon.
Calderon. hmm
And what's the name of his?
L-E-L
Mhm.
Rescate, R-E-S-C-A-T-E. And I think it's a really wonderful program because
Sounds like a restaurant.
we see
It does.
we see a lot of these kids.
Do they
you know,
serve Tecate there?
next door on both sides.
Here? All right.
But we see a lot of kids who have left home or been thrown out of their homes.
Oh, sure.
And then they don't go to school. They go from one person's couch to another,
Right.
or many of them from all over the Chicagoland area come to Halsted Street. So you go there almost any evening of the week, and you see kids from all over the area because they feel safe there. They don't feel safe in Englewood. They don't feel safe in Pilsen. They feel safe on Halsted Street. They're not old enough to get into any of the bars there. Not that that's recommended, but they just
Stay warm, whatever.
whatever they
Right,
yeah. And so night ministry helps them, and other groups help them, but there needs really to be a much more concerted effort and having resources in the neighborhoods and in the suburbs, so kids just don't come because, unfortunately, they come to Halsted Street. They have no place to go, and they either end up in either the sex trade or just, okay, I'll just stand on this corner until somebody picks me up so I can get something to eat and a warm place to stay tonight. So those are all kinds of problems we have there, and you know what I always say? I always say it. You know what? Some people who live in that neighborhood complain about all of these kids who aren't from here, and they're from all over the place. I say, guess what? They're our kids, and we have a responsibility to take care of them.
That's right.
Even if their families throw them out, even if their schools throw them out.
That's your future.
We have a responsibility to them.
Sure.
And some of us have made it or are making it. We have a responsibility to make sure those kids can have productive lives, regardless of who they are.
Give them a chance. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen homelessness. I haven't been a part of it, but I know.
I was for a long
Were
time.
you? Oh man.
3 years.
I
lived in a car for 3 years.
Oh no. Well, I used to when I worked at LaSalle and Wacker.
Oh.
And I used to take the train downtown. In the wintertime especially, I would walk on Lower Wacker Drive and see all the old refrigerator boxes there that people lived
Put that
in
over
and
a sewer
whatnot.
cap, and you can live behind the hog.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so warm.
Because it's warm.
It's like, oh no, I could not. I could not do that. There's no way.
Sure you can.
Well,
Sometimes
I
you have to.
That's right.
Well, yeah,
You know.
I would probably find a way, but God, no.
I know it's hard, but your mind gets set that either you freeze to death or you stay warm. What are you going to do? So how I got to be homeless was I ran away from home when I was 14.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on the streets for about 2 years, and my father got the police involved. They brought me back home, and I stayed with my father when I was 16. I ran away again. I didn't get to be with my mother until I was almost 18.
Really?
Yeah, because my parents were divorced.
Okay.
So I lived in Goodyear clothing boxes. That's the best place in the world because you got all the clothes, and go to stay at the Y to shower or whatever.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
and then I was also working plus going to school. And I was still living on the streets, but I was working. I didn't make enough to get my own place, but then again, I wasn't old enough to get my own place.
Okay.
You can't get an apartment when you're 16 years old. There's no way. They'll be looking at you like you're nuts, So you just adapt.
Right.
And I learned how to adapt, It's like being intersex. Basically, that's,
You have to learn how to live. I mean,
Right. Part of it.
in a way, when there's
Surviving.
there's no resources or help, and you have a way that sometimes you think there's no way out of this.
Right.
But you have to be resilient.
Right.
That's what's
Right.
interesting about all of us, is that we're a very resilient people.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I think yes, and that's what aggravates me so much about the scouting program is because I think, in my estimation, I was a Boy Scout, and when I saw, I don't know if you remember the old MacGyver series, okay, that used to be on, and he actually was an Eagle Scout in real life. The guy that played MacGyver, I can't think of his stage name, but whatever. But that's one thing that the Scouts do teach is how to, how to adapt or use resources. I mean, MacGyver could make a bomb out of, 2 pieces of paper and a gas can.
I can too.
Okay.
Military taught me that.
We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, he just knew how, how to make eating utensils out of just whatever was.
Well, what's a Boy? Because I never was a Boy Scout.
I was a Cub Scout.
Always be prepared, or
Yeah.
something like
Be
that.
prepared.
Be
Is the
prepared.
Scout motto, right?
Because they had that young trans girl that was having issues. Was in Denver. Was it? She was part of the Girl Scouts,
Yes.
and the girl in California was giving her a hard time about it. So they wanted to get her kicked out. So when the trans community heard about it, I heard about it. I joined up. I became a Girl Scout, and all my trans friends are all Girl Scouts now. And I mean, there's like 300 or 400 people out there that became Girl Scouts just for that girl
Right.
support her. And they kept her in there,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was the one, and this was just a year ago, maybe less, where the one trans MTF wanted to get in, and the Girl Scouts finally came around and said, yes, you've got to accept her. And then they closed down the troop.
Well, the leaders of that troop.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Couldn't
it was
agree
the
with it.
leaders, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
And the Girl Scouts have a long and rich history of being very supportive of LGBT kids and people. So that they're very unlike the Boy Scouts.
Oh, yeah.
The Boy Scouts are, well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we don't have to go there.
I have a feeling they're going to be changing their tune, not to. I mean,
And then
I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. They've gotten an enormous amount of pressure, the Boy Scouts have, for more than a decade, maybe 2 decades now, and they don't budge. And I'll tell you why they don't budge. A major portion of their funding comes from the Mormon Church.
That figured that had to
And
be coming
you know
in
what?
there.
Follow the money and everything, and people, when they're hit in the pocketbook, one way or the other, that's how a lot of these organizations and a lot of people, because I've met with leadership of the Boy Scouts, and one guy just said to me, if we allow gay people in, either as leaders or as kids, there's this whole segment that will pull their funding from us.
Well, they have
And
lost.
it's largely, largely
Sucks.
Mormons.
They've lost at least half a dozen of their funding, like UPS and a couple of.
Right.
Right.
And that's the only way. That's the only way this is going to change is
Well, that's
if
why-
we can make up those organizations, and also the city of San Diego. They have like we have in Chicago those where boats go. What do they call it? Harbors or something.
harbor,
okay.
And they have one in San Diego that's owned by the city, but they've leased it to the Boy Scouts for $1 a year for the last 50 years or something, right? And because of the Boy Scouts' anti-gay position, the city council in San Diego
Pull that slip.
pulled that out.
Cool.
But if you're going to be here, you're going to lease it for what it goes for, and
Right.
And that's the only way. That's the only way.
Well, that's why I think that eventually, I think the big thing is what you find is that so many of the Boy Scout troops are church affiliated, as opposed to the Girl Scouts, which are more
Right.
just a group of moms say, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have the girls in and teach them how to sew and basket weave and stuff like that. And so the Boy Scouts are a little more church affiliated, I think, than the
Yes.
Girl Scouts
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I still think that they're going to,
And and this is a little bit on the topic, or related, is that when we look at the leadership of the Boy Scouts, it mirrors the leadership of the Roman Catholic Church.
Oh, yeah.
Because they throw out openly gay people. They won't let gay groups meet on Catholic facilities. The Boy Scouts won't have gay troop leaders. But there's a long and rich history that we're all reading about, is how the leadership of the Boy Scouts have protected pederasts, child abusers,
Oh, yes,
and have
that-
moved them around and covered
like
up
the
for
church.
them. It's exactly the same as the Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
oh, absolutely.
And the funny thing is I'm Catholic, and I don't go to church or anything anymore because
Well, I
of
am
all
Catholic
that.
and I still go to church, but I'm not going to let pedophile protecting prelates keep me from my church or my faith. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's terrible. I mean, I always say it's like a joke, because we're Catholic. But when you go to church, and I went to church a lot when I was in the military, but and my godson is Catholic, but the collection plate when it comes by, I says, "Stand back, everybody." I throw my money in the air and I go, "Whatever stays in the air goes to the church, or whatever hits the ground's mine."
I've heard that one before. Well, I was.
I know it's bad, but hey, I'm not paying for a priest.
I was an NRP, actually,
Okay.
on my dog tags. That's what they had me as, NRP. No religious preference.
I remember seeing
Anybody want to say anything, go ahead and say something. Anyway, unfortunately, we're running out of time. I want to thank everybody that watched today, and I hope you will be back with us next week. My guest will be Rick Garcia. You're coming back next week, right?
Yes.
All right. Excellent. Excellent.
And I'll put it in my phone.
And
I don't know what you guys are going to talk about.
Have a card.
Oh, we have lots to talk about. Basically, an update on where we're at on the marriage equality bill and so on and so forth, and what's going on in Aurora, so on.
Oh, yeah.
So Rick will be back with us, and thank you so much for dropping in. I mean, you know,
I'm thrilled.
you lighten up the. I mean, you just. It's much better. Anyway, Shauna, thank you so very much for being with us today. Really enjoyed having you.
And I'll keep you guys enlightened of what's going on.
Okay,
Yeah, man.
excellent. I want to thank Sarah. I want to thank Laura on the board. I want to leave this thought with everybody. A friend is someone who understands your past, believes in your future, and accepts you the way you are today.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much for being with us. Have a good day. We'll talk to y'all later. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.